Well, they decided to delay Wonder Man a few weeks to 2026, and that means, surprise, Marvel Zombies was the final MCU project of 2025. So, today I'm going to stop and rank all 8 MCU projects of 2025 from the worst to the best. While I'm talking, be sure to join me down below in the comments section. Let me know what's your ranking of all 8 MCU projects that released this year, and let's get started. In last place, Ironheart, and I can't say I was terribly surprised when this show was underwhelming because it sat on a shelf for 3 years. They shot it back in 2022 before Wakanda Forever came out. The movie Wakanda Forever introduced the character, and instead of riding the wave of momentum of introducing a new character and quickly spinning her off, they literally waited an entire phase and sort of just like dropped it out in the middle of a very busy summer, almost like they wanted people not to watch the show. And it just feels like a completely miscalibrated show. That it's trying to craft an underdog story that would justify why a character would turn to a life of crime that makes for a much more morally ambiguous hero in the world of the MCU. But it just doesn't work. Simply because the lead character is one of the smartest humans on the planet that can easily invent world-changing technology overnight. She's been discovered by the college system and been given grants, and she's been discovered by a highly advanced nation, but she constantly has a victim mentality. That she constantly is saying, I'd be successful if, while at the same time having so many advantages right there in front of her, and so she's completely unrelatable and unsympathetic. She's not turning to crime to feed her family. She's doing it because she's impatient and foolish. And that's not compelling or interesting. Every episode, she invents some technology that she could easily sell to a corporation and make millions and millions of dollars. She accidentally invents an AI that brings back her dead friend. And instead of selling this to a company, because this would be very easy to sell, she becomes impatient because she's trying to build a tech suit. And so it's just not compelling. There's when Han Solo is our most compelling character in it, and he's, the fifth build person, that's really not a great sign. And our villains aren't really any more villainous than our lead character. She's also culpable in so much of the bad stuff that happens, and it ends on a note where the lead character makes the same bad choice that the villain of the show made, making it clear this isn't a superhero story, it's a villain origin story, in which case it's I don't even know what I'm supposed to feel about this, but it's not good enough or compelling enough to be the MCU's Breaking Bad, because I just don't care about this character, but it has all the problems of not being a superhero show and delivering what you want in that regard. Number 7, Marvel Zombies, and this was fine but forgettable. When they first announced it, it sounded like, oh man, this will be really cool, this will be a lot of fun, and it felt like they took so long to actually produce it and delivered so little from the concept that we were just all kind of burned out on just more MCU content. And that's just kind of what it felt like, a expanded version of a What If episode. And we'd already done 3 episodes of What If, and we're kind of done with it. Now let's do a What If TV show specifically about zombies and not pick some of the more interesting characters for us to follow. And this is some of the trickle down of my larger complaints about MCU phases 4 and 5, where they haven't established who the stars are or made characters we're really invested in, so that when you do a What If, it's fun to kind of spin it. That's why What If Season 1 was fun for me, because you were taking characters I was really invested in from phases 1 through 3 and then turning their origin story on its head and playing it out differently. It doesn't work when you do that with a character I'm substantially less invested in particular when you throw them into just kind of this zombie world where everything's crazy. And it's kind of fun to see rated R gnarly violence in Marvel. Some of this is, I enjoy it enough, but completely forgot about it the next day. It's like a completely disposable piece of the MCU, just content on a streaming service to kill a couple hours And it's the sort of thing where you go like, I wish all the effort and resources they put into this, they put into making the actual stuff that matters better, rather than just more. Next up, Captain America, Brave New World. And this one is a little bit frustrating because there's a lot in here that I did enjoy. There's several ways in which I felt like this was starting to feel like classic MCU, an actually cohesive universe where the events of other movies matter, and it feels like we actually are in a shared universe. Sam's getting to be front and center, and at the same time, a movie that absolutely felt like a movie that was from the era of microwaving scripts. From the moment they announced this project, I was concerned about it because of the creative team behind it, that if you look at what they'd written, what they directed before, it doesn't give you a ton of confidence. And then adding to that, it's a project that ended up being delayed basically a full year to do reshoots, million theories as to how extensive they were. But we know they added Giancarlo Esposito. A whole character was added that had a significant part in the film. And we know that multiple different familiar faces, a wrestler and an actress, were cut entirely out of the movie.
What's going on with Captain America Brave World? Are you still in it?
Releases in February. I wish it the best, but I am not a part of that. The script went through a lot of rewrites and reshoots, and so what I was there to do, essentially my role got either repurposed or completely erased.
That's how much it was reworked. And you feel that while you're watching it. Parts of it are like, that's good, and then parts of it, you can just feel this guy's been cut in and reshot and reworked. And ultimately, it's a movie that forgot it was a Captain America film. It's much more, the arc is Thunderbolt Ross is the guy with the actual arc in the movie. And the culmination is him turning into a Red Hulk. But Sam's just kind of along for the ride as a point of view character rather than someone with an actual development throughout the film. It seemed like all the most interesting characters, Isaiah and I think, like, get sidelined. They don't get used in the film. And all of it kind of builds to a third act that's just not very compelling. We have a Red Hulk show up, but there's nothing interesting that happens in the sequence because a Captain America with wings isn't someone that makes for like, man, what an awesome boss fight with a Hulk in a generic park. So a movie that has many things in it. It was like, that was cool. I liked that. It's watchable, but it falls right into that category what so many MCU projects the last few years have been, of just being totally mediocre. Number 5, Eyes of Wakanda, and I completely skipped this when it dropped. There was no discussion. I'm not even sure if Disney emailed me to send me screener links or anything like that. It just kind of like, they just dropped it, and then we moved on from the conversation. So I didn't end up watching it until the last 24 hours. I finished it this morning. It's only 4 episodes, and the episodes are only 30 minutes long, and 5 of those minutes are credits. So it's the length of a short movie to watch all of it. And for what it was an interesting little look into the history of Wakanda, and in particular, the development of their nation's worldview that leads into the events of Black Panther, which is Wakanda's the secret nation because they have an isolationist mentality. Let's not get involved in everything else. And so then that's what the show is all about, them throughout history, trying to make sure that no one knows they exist. And there's things in it that were interesting. There's an episode where it's the Trojan War, except with a Wakandan in it. And so we're doing Greek mythology with Wakanda tying into it. It's like, okay, that's kind of fun combination of things together. There's an Iron Fist one, and then there's one that has like time travel in it and kind of pulls it together and kind of elaborates on the development of the thinking of the nation of Wakanda and ties it into the films. So that's kind of cool. But once again, one thing that's just so odd about it is that it's called Eyes of Wakanda. 3 of the 4 episodes are outside of Wakanda. It's all about trying to capture relics. So you don't really even get the feel for Wakanda itself. It's all just Wakandans out doing adventures, Indiana Jones stuff. And so it felt like I didn't even kind of get out of it what I was thinking I would get. Some of it was the idea that Wakanda has had as advanced of technology as it indicate, like they have spaceships 600 years ago and global communication 600 years ago, where as soon as you introduce a concept like that, it's like, wait, what? Now, I know they're advanced, but they're like hundreds of years advanced from where we are in reality right now. That's where they were at 1400 AD? Really? So there's just a lot of things in it that were just kind of odd. And I don't know. It like, it's the sort of thing where I go, why did we spend time on this? If we're not going to like do a full 10 episode thing to like really dive into Wakanda, have characters we're elaborating on, why are we just kind of doing this little like anthology thing and just giving little glimpses that just kind of explore the same idea? It was bad to be isolationist, which was already the message of the movie. It's that like, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of cool. The artwork is like watercolors and animation. It's cool. But is this really the best use of our time? Number 4, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And this is essentially an entire season of What If using Spider-Man. And like, let's flip a detail and kind of do what they did in the original seasons of What If, where you kind of flip an important detail. And that big shift here is what if Peter Parker's mentor was Harry Osborn instead of Tony Stark, which rich person takes him under his wing, and you go, that's kind of fun. And because we're doing What If, we're seeing familiar scenes, sequences, things that played out in Civil War, but we're just a bent to it. And we can bring in characters that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to play in the main stories, in the timeline. So there's some fun that can be had there. And Spider-Man is obviously a character that's compelling enough that he can carry a show and has been carrying animated TV shows for a very long time. I personally would have preferred if they just gone with the original concept. The original concept was, this is Tom Holland's freshman year. We're going to like show him as high school, make DIY Spider-Man with his suit trying to fight crime. And it's a true origin to what we got before. And it gives you a sandbox that's very small. It puts restrictions on it, but those restrictions are what make the storytelling interesting, because it ties into what I've already seen, and it plays him out as high school Spider-Man on his own. And as soon as we go full-blown What If and we can kind of do anything, it's like, it's just any other Spider-Man animated show, and we've had plenty of those. And I was hoping to see like Tom Holland before Civil War. That was really interesting to me. So it's well done. And it was like, okay. Another thing was just kind of like, that's fine. All right. I don't know that I'll rewatch it, but for any reason other than for this channel, but cool. Bringing us into the top 3, Daredevil, Born Again. And this is one where I have like really dramatic feelings, and I'll save kind of contradictory statements about it depending on when you're listening to me. And all of that comes from the fact that the original run of Daredevil Netflix is one of my favorite TV shows of the last decade. I just think it was amazing stuff. Just great television. Awesome fight choreography, and just did amazing character work. And when they originally started developing this show, they went down just a catastrophic path, which is they hired crappy writers that, I mean, maybe they're amazing people. I don't know anything about them personally, but their resume gave me no confidence that they could pull off continuing Daredevil. And they were building it on terrible ideas of, we're not really doing Daredevil season 4. We're just trying to, we're going to not borrow, but steal trust from the audience by fan casting Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio. And then we're just going to do our own thing. All the supporting cast that were pivotal to the original run, they're all gone. We're replacing them. We're doing our entire thing with our own tone, our own vibe, our own aesthetic, but we're tricking you into thinking it's a continuation by having Charlie Cox and Vincent in it. And that is so cynical. It's like, it's actively it's actively antagonistic towards its own audience. It's actively taking advantage of them. And I think that is so gross. Just gross behavior. Then, at some point in time, they watched it and they went, we're going to get murdered if we do this because we are cynically taking advantage of the built-in fan base to give them something that they do not want. And so then they went and they got some of the people that worked on Marvel Netflix to come in and rework the show and go, no, this is a continuation and we're going to bring some characters back as best we can. They couldn't undo some of the disastrous decisions that set them down a very dangerous path. But they did the best they could to patchwork this thing together. And so at its best, you started to feel like we're getting a continuation. It had moments of the greatness of the original show. But it was always built on like trying to like patchwork together, work around terrible ideas. And it's trying to like convert something that was intentionally trying to distance itself into something more like the original thing. And they even build lines of dialogue into that. They wrote scenes to like even explain some of that into it as we're trying to like pull this thing back. So there's a lot of like, you love Charlie and Vincent in these roles, Karen Page. The more that it feels like we're continuing what came before, the better it is. But it's just really difficult when they were working from such like a faulty base that just sabotaged the whole thing. The new people did the best they could. I'm hopeful for the future. When I talk about it, it's so much of it is negative because it was so stupid what they initially did and sabotaged themselves. But that's not to say that like there was so like I liked a lot of the episodes and there's a bunch of things that really did work. Like it really did. But also it's really easy to pick on the insanity that caused its biggest flaws. So I'm very hopeful that Daredevil Born Again Season 2 will be dramatically better than Season 1. Our runner-up, Thunderbolts, to be perfectly clear, big, gigantic leap between Daredevil Born Again and Thunderbolts. No gap at all between first, number one on here, I mean, it's Fantastic Four, and Thunderbolts. I don't know with time. I haven't rewatched them since seeing Fantastic Four a few times in July. I haven't rewatched them to see with time which one comes out on top. I don't have a strong preference between the two of them. Each of them did things that I really enjoyed and I felt like was a fresh spin for the MCU. But we're talking about Thunderbolts. And so specifically what I thought really worked there is they made an MCU film that was actually about something. Most MCU films aren't particularly like, there are some, Black Panther, but a lot of them aren't particularly thematically strong. So when you have one that's able to be about purpose, depression, mental health, finding family, and it's able to do that in a way that like is seamless. It's not pausing to preach at you or anything like that. It's just like, that's the story they're telling of a bunch of very broken people coming together. And they're able to use that as a mechanism for even our villain in our third act is a visual manifestation of the grander themes of the movie. You don't describe other movies in the MCU that way. So that was a huge win for this film for me. And I loved that it was able to kind of take a bunch of characters that people didn't care about and bring them together and make all of them more interesting, more compelling, and much deeper characters, so much so that I have to now keep my U.S. agent next to me on my desk while I shoot my videos. But it had a cast that ended up being really fun to see on screen together. It did something creative and different that was like, they used practical effects to create a surrealistic world.
There's a lot of grounded stuff in this movie and a lot of grounded action. There is a whole surrealist side to the film. And I think that traditionally in this world, you might, lean pretty hard on visual effects to do that.
It's a just different type of third act. It was about something. That's what I want more of from the MCU. So for me, that was all a huge win. But coming in at number one, Fantastic Four, First Steps. And like I just said, this is a number one, number two situation where it's kind of like this. I'm not surprised if they switch spots or something like that with time, but both of them I found very refreshing. And in the case of Fantastic Four, what I found so refreshing is that they did go to this other Earth. And because of that, you're able to have the flavor, the formula for an MCU film, but in a world where it's just fun to explore it. We're in this retro future 1960s MCU. And just the set design, the production design, walking down the streets, I was looking at billboards and like, what movie is playing there? And what do the brand logos look like? And how do they play music? And all these things. I don't normally watch a movie and pay attention to details like that. And I really enjoyed that I watched Fantastic Four and I was paying attention to details like that. And even some things that I think some people were frustrated by, like the underground city and not elaborating more on that, and Mole Man, and he just kind of like makes these little brief appearances. I kind of liked that. I liked this feeling of there's just this big, gigantic, rich world out there that you can just keep exploring it more and more. And wherever you turn, underground, that corner, there's another adventure that took place. And it told its story in a way that, this might seem like a strange comparison, but it reminded me of like the Michael Bay movies of the late 90s and his early Transformers movies, where they just have this kind of grand scope to them with the whole world is at threat, and they use like news broadcasts and montages through footage of cities and people's reactions. And it just makes the whole thing feel like this sweeping epic story that's bigger than this one location. Like the movie takes place like in a building, in a spaceship for the most part, but it's told also in a way where you feel the sense of the city or in the world. They're isolated, but their story matters for the world. And I just enjoyed the way that it was kind of constructed that way and the way they chose to tell that. And, I thought the way the banter was more subdued than other versions of the Fantastic Four, but it was still there. I still enjoyed what they did with the Fantastic Four nonetheless. So for me, like, I just really enjoyed what they did. It had a distinct flavor to it, a distinct vibe, a distinct aesthetic. It was a world I wanted to continue to explore that immersed me in it. And I don't feel like I get that from comic book movies enough. And this felt like I turned a corner, and once again, I'm like feeling like I'm in a world I want to play around with again. So for me, at least as of today, it comes in number 1. Be sure to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know your ranking of Marvel Studios projects in the year 2025, all 8 of them. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV to